Hi everyone, I'm Dana Lauer with Project ARC. Many of you know me from my work in PBL and my attempt to push teachers into more of an authentic space to give their learners the opportunity to affect change in their world. In fact, the ARC in Project ARC stands for Authenticity, Relevancy, and Community Connected Learning. For the past 20 plus years, this journey has been very rewarding, albeit bumpy at times. In fact, I may have, on occasion, been labeled as being disagreeable. And in November of 2024, I put out a call on LinkedIn asking for my disagreeable people to respond to me and connect. I had absolutely no idea where those connections would go. But the whole post was prompted by something that I had read in Adam Grant's New York Times bestselling book, Think Again: The Power of Knowing What You Don't Know. So let me take an opportunity to read that quote to you now. The ideal members of a challenge network are disagreeable because they're fearless about questioning the way things have always been done and holding us accountable for thinking again. There's evidence that disagreeable people speak up more frequently, especially when leaders aren't receptive, and foster more task conflict. They give the critical feedback we might not want to hear, but need to hear. And in November of 2024, our Project Arc DisT podcast was born. Since that time, we've had about 25 different guests join us and share their disagreeable thoughts. For 2025's year-end review, we thought we would do something a little bit differently. We put all of those episodes into AI and asked AI to generate the themes that emerged from those disagreeable conversations. So now we bring you the best of the past year from DIST. Don't worry, in 2026, we will be back and we have some new guests already scheduled. However, if you consider yourself to be disagreeable in education and would like to join one of our unscripted conversations, drop us a line, info at proj-arc.com. We'd love to have you join us. Until then, keep disagreeing and fostering task conflicts, and we'll see you soon.
Well, to Virginia's point, we're missing a great opportunity to develop digital literacy right now. I think it was in the last roundtable that you had where somebody was talking about AI and how there is still hesitation to bring it into school. We should not be hesitating to bring things in that can challenge people to think critically. And if our educators are part of that limitation or part of the barrier that is creating that disadvantage by not encouraging things that may not be right all the time, that may not always be perfect, that may not just follow specific rules and you memorize and then you pass a test and this is the way we've always taught things. So I think if we can break free from that fear that creates a barrier of inviting things in that will develop those critical thinking skills, I think that's a start.
So one disadvantage is that the traditional system is actually not preparing kids for the world that they will grow into, right? Because it's denying them access to technology. That is an important aspect of the world of the 21st century. Virginia, any thoughts from you on disadvantages that come from the traditional system?
Yeah, as an educator, I already said, I see that in the schools, it's more rather than teachers even centered approaches. Yes, it's all about them, and they are, how to say, create this curriculum, even implement over to their unique subjects and everything. But as the result, what I faced with when I talk to the children, they are like a Pavlov's dogs anyway. So they are only understand only comments.
Mm-hmm.
I asked them be more thinking critical and think outside the box, be more, and that the system, our approach of the curriculum should more student centered, because of I'm really inspired in the way when I see how they are thinking about what they can do this, how they unlimited these boundaries if you give the space for them, for the children, for the students. Yes, and my disagreement is very high level in the way that the curriculum, without looking for all these changes and AI tools, because of AI tools is this another challenge for many educations.
With the University of Melbourne and my previous company, Steelcase, many schools still use these outdated layouts. They're still sitting in grids, in rigid settings. And this failed to nurture collaboration. This failed to create more engagement that we thought we will have more and we're supposed to have after COVID. Because even my own experience with my kids and the local scene here in Malaysia, especially during pandemic, those students that I would say were lost in those time frame, after we came back and start to engage everyone, we start to see everyone again. There's everyone noticed there's something missing. Student engagement, student performance, even some teacher development still lacking. People kind of like trying to go hybrid, but still want to go back to what they've been comfort with. This become, I think, generally a real world problem. But the tough challenge here is the cultural, the infra around these spaces still persist. We need to break away from this comfort zone. And this requires more than willpower. This requires more than just, I want to do it, but how to do it. There is lacking of people helping on this, on how parts. Everyone knows what we need to do, why we need to do, but the how is missing, I think. And it's very disappointing to see this.
And where students can take that kind of that I can't remember what you called it now, but self-schooling, whatever you want.
Self-directed schooling.
Thank you.
Yep.
There you go. But allowing them to become kind of the stewards of their learning, and therefore becoming more important for them to learn and to see what they're interested in, and allowing that to connect.
Christina, right, that sort of like when we get past the negativity of disagreement, do we enter into this curiosity space? And is that a better place to go?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So recently I've been I would go from curiosity to also link to that creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so one thing I did before with my Chem 101 students was I did this Torrance test for divergent thinking
Mm-hmm.
with them. And it was a different kind of framework. I used it for their case studies, but I've been doing it with my littles and sharing the results. It's a creativity quotient that you come up with from coding their work and sharing it with their teachers. And they're shocked because towards the behavior end, they're used to high performers, and now I'm realizing that they're literally just performing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, wow, like the kids who were off the charts for creativity, which would lead to curiosity and all the good juicy stuff that comes in with science, um, were not expected because they're not necessarily the high performers, right? So um, anyway, it's been fascinating to kind of share with my new colleagues that what is creativity? And it's, the ability to, when you're given some objects, are you seeing it as something that you can take apart and recreate something new, or can you repurpose it instead of using it as is in just a slightly different way? And so anyway, it just got me to thinking a lot more about behavior and high performers and the
Mhm.
fact that they learn so young. I'm shocked how young they learn to perform.
Mhm.
And you can see it if you're looking for it. Like if you are testing for their divergent thinking. Are they divergent thinking and looking at something with deconstruction, construction kind of eyes versus just being a good student, whatever that means. So
I guess I have two words because one's how I feel and one's what I want to do. What I feel is dismay. I'm absolutely taken aback about how disincentivized the students are from pursuing education or from even engaging with it at a deeper level. And what I want to do is dismantle this present system. So those are my two dis words, dismay and dismantle.
Sure. Dave Ross, I currently work writing and consulting, usually with AI companies, about the integration of generative AI into the classroom space. And as you can imagine, disruption is the word that I would choose. This will be my third go round with this. So if I get this wrong, I'm out of here. The first round was about 25 years ago. I was consulting with some large corporations about the arrival of the internet in every student's hand. And I really thought that that was going to disrupt the traditional model of instruction. And it was quickly subsumed to serve the needs of traditional instruction. So I was disappointed by that, round one. Round two was COVID. I thought this was the great shock to the system, and it would force a change in pedagogical practices. And we've quickly reverted back to the mean, and it didn't serve as the disruptor that I thought it would be. So the third one is the arrival of ChatGPT, generative AI, which was almost exactly 2 years ago to the day. And I think this will be the disruptor that I've always looked for a variety of reasons. One is the role of the teacher is going to have to change because AI is creating curriculum for us or with us. AI is assessing student work for us or with us. And AI is teaching. There are multiple AI tutors. There are multiple AI course bots. And so, if by definition teachers are no longer creating curriculum, teachers are no longer assessing student work, and teachers are no longer delivering content, what are they doing? So, this is going to force a rethink of course structure, pedagogy, and the role of the teacher.
I totally agree. And I think that even especially with AI, I mean, I think to use AI properly, you have to actually have a discussion with it. So I feel like it's actually more relevant now. It's like using AI as an argument for being a skilled discussioner, if that's a word. I think it should be. I think, often we have a lot of Socratic discussions in our school, especially in our middle school. Our social studies curriculum is delivered all through like learner research, and then they have a Socratic discussion, and they all they hate it when everyone agrees. They're like, who is going to take one for the team and disagree today? Because I cannot, it's an hour long, or like I cannot sit here for an hour if everyone just says, me too, me too. I totally think the same thing. So it's actually really a hopeful place. I like try to, hang out and be around those discussions when they're happening because um the young people can do so much, and they can have these really hard discussions about really serious topics and disagree, and so like do it so respectfully, and it's such a great model.
But I also like that Virginia raised the question of discussion. Um, and I think that's a very positive word. We were just talking with a school that we work with here in Colorado this morning that has made promoting discussion among their students one of their 3 or 4 goals for the year and is working really, really hard to try to get beyond what, at least in education in the States, is called the turn and talk, right? So you turn to the person sitting next to you and you talk to them for a moment or two, and then you go back to instruction. And I think this discussion is a really important part of whether it's career technical education or any kind of career preparation, right? Is you're creating more problems, I think, when you have a group of people who think they know what they're doing and don't need to talk to anybody else, right? Like I learned this in school. I don't need to talk to anybody. I can just do it. And they go ahead and do things without discussing it with other people. I'd like to discuss for a moment what you two or Dana jump in, think about this question of, does allowing kids to talk to each other in class, and that also would include not only in conversations in class, but maybe, with their phones or other digital devices, right? Like, is that an important part of helping them accommodate to being good critical thinkers in the world of work outside of a school setting? So I'll throw that out there. What can discussion do for us to solve some of the disadvantages we've talked about?
Yeah, I think if we're trying to create future collaborators, it's essential. And the more diverse and divergent we become as workers, and the more we welcome in industry different opinions, we find that we are smarter and we are more capable of innovative ideas, and we can achieve more. So if we aren't willing to teach students how to challenge each other respectfully and produce ideas and have these side discussions. Now, I don't think that having phones is necessarily as productive as a structured breakout that provides a prompt and encourages thoughtful discussion. Yeah, I think there's ways to do it and achieve balance and achieve the goal. In the business world, we've got knowledge transfer and knowledge spillover, and I think if we could have some distribution across the lines of our classrooms, and break the silos of this class teaches this topic and this class teaches this topic, we could see how industry brings together multiple disciplines to accomplish one goal. And I'd like to see a broader distribution and assembly or connection across silos in education to mirror what we expect in business.
I think there's an element of there's a fractal element here, like because like as a charter school, the PED award rewards compliant charters and compliant and compliant administrations, and then administrations reward compliant teachers and teachers reward compliant students, right? And so kids who comply, like following that, are easy, and they're easy to work with. I think in order to really foster the creativity that I think that Tim that you were alluding to, you need strong teachings, like teachers who can overcome the behaviors and not see that as like you're disrupting my system, as opposed to I should create a system as a strong teacher to allow kids to step into spaces that they want to discover, right? I think there is a level of teaching prowess that comes to be able to do that. And I think project-based learning and things where you're allowing kids to create things to their own just assets, talents, but also their own interests, I think is helpful.
Yeah,
and I do want to just mention too, like what Dana was just saying about the solving of a problem. I think that whenever that is engaged, and I really love the work she's from USC, Dr. Mary Helen Imordino Yang, getting especially these generations now to think about civic reasoning, that kind of problem, and really also what makes them angry, what pisses them off, what frustrates them. And I feel like that there's some juice that starts to happen and the neurochemicals start to change for that in a good way.
Yeah, well,
I
that's
do
you
have a
imagine?
question.
go ahead, Drew.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, can you imagine walking into a group of, high schoolers, even ninth graders, and just saying, what pisses you off? And
Yeah.
start
How ready they would be to answer.
Yeah.
space of, yeah, we want our learners to be engaged, but I didn't quite know what it meant to be in an authentic space. And the journey really has been rewarding, but it has also been bumpy at times.
More the norm because of that world that's creating, and then in my distressed and disillusioned place, I go to, oh, good God, what if we don't do that? Because then we just have an entire generation that wants to cognitively offload their entire existence to a machine. So I don't know, anyone else remotely hopeful that things like discussion and inquiry might be more generative going forward?